Que paso, YouTube? I just realized I also decided to wear my dorkiest shirt. But it is pretty fucking America, I guess. So, just messing around. My wonderful wife had to go to bed early, which is often the case. So I am gonna enjoy a delicious crank yanker. I guess I should show you the can. How foamy can I possibly pour this beer? I guess I should have cleaned this before the last crank yanker, which this glass has been sitting for like an hour or something out. Smooth move. All right, well, we'll have to let this settle. It's funny, the last time I had a beer on the YouTube live, it was, am I pretty level? I guess we got some pretty wild shit going on here in the screen. Whoops. So yeah, this is a, not that it matters, but it's a backwards, of course, Crank Yanker IPA from our brewery, the town, next town over. Yeah, I was basically same like the last video. I was about to sharpen this knife and I was like, fuck it, I'll just do it live, that'll be fun. So that's what I'm gonna do. I haven't really planned too much, as you might be shocked. So I'm gonna use my backwards also, Spyderco. That fucking blows that this is backwards. Spyderco Sharp Maker. This Spyderco Sharp Maker I have had since I got my first Sabenza, which was in the year 2000. So this has been a long time I've had this thing. But none of the rods are original. I pretty much wore out my medium rods. These are fairly new. I got these at the Spyderco factory in Golden. No big deal. I live in Colorado. And then I'm kind of the opposite of like your average knife dork. I'm more like I'm like a hybrid knife dork. But I don't use the fucking fine stones at all. The only thing I use my fine stones for is if I have to polish something that I don't like on a new knife, I'll use it for that. Like a lot of times, if I get a new knife that like the spine is really like sharp on or whatever, I will take my fine, ultra fine, I guess they're not even ultra fine, they're the regular white stones that come with a Sharp Maker, and I will address any issues on a knife with those. About the only thing I use. I keep my medium stones and diamond stones in my Sharp Maker kit. And I almost always use the diamond stones like 20 strokes or something like that, just because I guess I get impatient. I also, not like a lot of knife dorks, I do not enjoy sharpening. As a matter of fact, I've been known to pretty much go through my whole Pelican box of knives, which is probably 20 or something like that, folding knives before sharpening them, which is a fucking serious, obviously amateur move. And I end up sharpening all those motherfuckers at the same time. So most people know Spyderco Sharp Maker is 40 degrees inclusive on one side, 30 degrees inclusive on the other side. The cover for the case is used as a handle afterwards. Oh, I also don't use the brass rods, which is funny. I used them for fucking ever. I was just super anal about always using the brass rods, which is fun. Now I'll cut myself because I'm doing a fucking live video using the thing. But I don't use the brass rods either. The one good thing about those brass rods is they kind of, I don't know if you can see this or not, this like notch here that holds in the rods when they're in the side position. When you force the rod down in this probably video is worthless, but when you force the rod down in this groove here, it actually pushes these little things down a little bit and grips the rod a little bit better. They say Shirogorovs are always 40 degrees inclusive, and I mean, let's see here. I mean, the edge on a Shirogorov is just incredible. It's wanting to focus on my fucking beard for some reason, but the edges on these things are incredible. And if I was to show you my two main EDCs is a large Nkosi and a 3.5 inch XM18 slicer, you would just puke at how wide the fucking edge is from 40 degrees, really, with the occasional 30 degree, you know, knocking back the shoulder. So rather than assume, which I was gonna do, since this is what I'm gonna do 9 times out of 10, really, is the Sharpie trick, and that is basically, if anybody has any questions on the knife, feel free to ask. It's fun, like this thing has such a tiny little bevel on it. I'm gonna very sparingly mark the edge. Most people know the Sharpie trick. I'm sure, god damn it, that's the worst part of the Sharpie trick, is when you fucking write on the goddamn blade. Well, that's gonna stick on there for a little while. The Sharpie trick just lets you know exactly where the angle you're sharpening at is actually sharpening on the edge itself. Take a little sip of this beer. Oh, this is a Duvel glass, which is, a lot of people think is pronounced Duvel. I just fell in love with these when I was in Belgium. Like, before I went to Europe, if somebody hands me a glass like this at a bar, I'm like, fuck this damn glass. But like now, it's just like, I just love these glasses. But okay, now for shits, I'm just gonna, I consider this basically just marking this blade. You know what? Fuck it. I might actually, let me grab a piece of paper. I might actually just try. Okay, so this knife is disturbingly not amazing. Like I've had it for a couple weeks. I've just used it super sparingly. I mean, like cut a few pieces. What did I cut? I cut something today that was just like, fuck, man, this knife is not sharp enough. I don't remember, but. Let's see. So that seems all right, but there actually is quite a good bit of resistance on there. Let's see. I have my only other knife I have out right now is shockingly, my Neon, which I've used quite a bit more than this other knife, but I also have touched it up, and it's not the best, but. This Neon has found the pavement a couple of times, unfortunately. You know that fucking, let's see how many people, there's 2 people watching right now. I bet you both have fucking gotten out of a car with your goddamn knife on your lap and dropped it on the pavement. Well, I did that with this fucking Neon today. Or no, it was yesterday. So, that sucks. Every dick on F Street. But, okay. So, a little bit of a reference there. This is a long-winded video. So, of course, that cutting took a little bit of the Sharpie off, which I'm going to replace now. All right. Let it dry, and I'm just going to kind of touch it up. This is how I use the Sharp Maker. I guess you'll see. But I just kind of work on one side for a minute, holding the angle as up and down as I possibly can. I really like to kind of get my shoulders above it as well as I can. This, my kitchen countertop is a really good height for me. Like just right about dick height is a pretty good height, I think. Or vagina height is way lower than dick height. I think we know this, right? Like you say, you can't say vagina height. You're like, I don't know, like lower landing strip area-ish, you know? Because vaginas are like, they're down there. You know what I'm talking about? When you first discovered that, you're like, whoa. Anyhow. So I'm just considering this marking the blade, but it's also possible. Like when I say marking the blade, I mean just marking exactly where I'm sharp, where 40 degrees is hitting the edge, essentially. It seems to be hitting like towards the shoulder. I'm gonna just give it a few more strokes. It seems to be hitting towards the shoulder, so not on the apex. Like maybe this thing is more like 42 degrees, 43, 45. No, probably not 45. But let's see. World's most fucking boring YouTube video. But at least it'll be long. So we got that going for us. Let's see if I'm marking the blade. And you're not gonna be able to see this, but you can see where I did this super sick fucking slip there. Everybody loves that shit. Yeah, you can't see fuck all, huh? Is there any goddamn way I can make this fucker focus? I'm using the front-facing camera just in case somebody wants to comment, which my comments are dwindling on these live videos. Yeah, they're not the best. If somebody has a comment on that, you know, it just sucks. I somehow am a busy motherfucker, and I really don't have the time. Also, I have lots of hobbies, but like I don't have the time to edit a video and put music to it and all the shit. Put my fucking eyeliner on. Just kidding. Sunglasses. I guess sunglasses used to be the MO. No sunglasses today, folks. So, you know, because one of the things I personally really like about the Sharp Maker is, you know, I don't really I love the way like a perfect, you know, angle chamfer looks on the edge. Like I can look at that and I can appreciate it, and then I look at like my knives and I'm like, they are not even close to as pretty as like a perfect sharpening job is, but I like the way that they work. So like if a knife for me has a really wide fucking secondary bevel there on the edge, I tend to fucking spend some time on the 30 degree, knocking that fucking just the corner off where the blade grind and the edge bevel come together. I just don't really like it as far as using goes. It's not like it's night and day, but it's pretty significant, I think. So, and the Sharp Maker kind of offers that in its anyway, just because, or at least for me, because I just kind of go, honestly. I'm not doing anything significantly different other than basically talking to myself. Right now, though, this is pretty much how I would do it. I like to choke way up on the blade. I might be actually alternating more than I usually do. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll sharpen only on this side until I raise a burr, and then I'll sharpen 1/10 as much on this side, and then I'll just remember that I did that. Because I mostly carry my large Incosi and my XM18, so I remember. And anytime my knife sees some significant use, I sharpen it at the end of the day or the next morning or something. I try to stay ahead of it these days, but I'm not really doing that right now, long story short. I'm kind of going more on the regular Spyderco principle. I really like to be as efficient time-wise as I possibly can, really, while still not fucking up my knives completely, just for shits, I'm just gonna cut this paper. Is there anything important? No, it was a fucking recipe that probably wasn't awesome. Alright, so obviously a major, still not perfect, obviously, I guess we're seeing, but like, as far as the overall resistance that I'm feeling goes, it's already a huge difference. I wish I could actually, I wonder if I can tell if one's like, some of those, yeah, I can tell. You probably can't tell, but the one in the back is like a fuzzier cut. That was the first cut. So yeah, that seems to be, that seems to work. You know, yeah, I guess honestly, I would just continue touching this up with the medium stones until it just gets exactly where I like it. I wish it, I'm sure most people who would ever watch this video are the same way, but like if I get one little dull spot on a knife, I feel like I have to sharpen it. But I also struggle with it because I'm like, I know sharpening is removing material, and I'm like, it's taking away the life of my knife. But, life of my knife, did I say that right? Fuck, I don't know. Yeah, either way, these things are gonna last a long fucking time. Did I mention this is the first time I sharpened this knife? I might have. I also, I mean, I think there's some data to back this up, but like, I feel like there always is a noticeable increase in not only, like say, the 10th time you sharpen a knife. I mean, it does take quite a few sessions, but there's a noticeable just increase in overall, like, the edge lasts longer, and it's easier to sharpen. I think it has to do with just the nuances of how you sharpen is a lot of it, but I think a lot of it too is just kind of getting through any kind of like imperfections in the heat treat where the edge is thinner here. I don't know, this is just me fucking bullshitting probably, but I'll pour the rest of my beer. And also just like maybe it's any kind of damage that was done in the sharpening process. So yeah, I don't know. But I certainly, it always bothers me when people have an opinion, like a strong opinion on a knife or even a blade steel, you know, like in general, like fuck CPM 154, or in this case, fuck Elmax. I'm just like, I don't know, man. And people, you know, I mean, we all know this. People will post, you know, and because I fucking research this shit when I'm buying, selling, well, I guess buying knives. But like, people will, you know, in one area of a forum talk about how they use and sharpen this knife, and it just, you know, I can't believe it's not great or whatever, and then never used, you know, on the for sale forum with the same knife, and it's like, you know what? I actually believe that it was never used. You know, that's where I'm leaning with this. I have the wicked edge. It's so much work getting it out. And so, you know what? That's why I don't have a wicked edge. James Height says, yeah. And another reason I don't have a wicked edge, and also I wish I didn't rely on this so much, but I do occasionally. Like when I moved to the Virgin Islands for 6 months and did some work down there a couple of years ago, and the only thing I brought with me was I knew I'd have a coffee cup and I could sharpen on that, and I brought one of these rods. And at that point, all I brought on that trip was I brought 2 XM18s and I brought a small Sabenza, and while I was there I bought a Spyderco Native Lightweight. That's all I brought. That's all I need. Just this 2 XM18s. Okay, maybe in a Native Lightweight. No, I'm just kidding. Jeez, I don't even know what I was talking about. Did the jerk quote, became a jerk. So yeah. So far so good with the sharpening here. Let's just check it one more time. I guess I'll talk about Elmax a little bit. Why not talk about Elmax? I have some experience with Elmax, not a whole lot of experience. My first Elmax blade that I bought, I don't think I ever posted a review on. I was in during my very long hiatus, which, I don't know, could happen again, will happen again, I'm sure. But it was a scrapyard knife company, Max 3. I think it was the 3.5, yeah. Little fixed blade in Elmax. I didn't use that knife a whole lot, but I did use it. I wanted to love it. It was a really nice, I don't know, $100 knife, $80 knife. I could not fall in love with the Sanaprine, those like lightweight rubber handles. And my takeaway on the Elmax with that knife was, I guess I'll give you something to look at, was it seemed to be way too hard to sharpen given how long the edge lasted. Like, I don't know, I felt like it was on par with S30V, but the Lightum just sucks every dick too. But harder to sharpen than S30V. That was my takeaway with that knife. I don't think I had any other Elmax knife that I can think of. It's certainly possible until I got this guy. This knife was really sharp, really nice edge on it, but dulled super fast, like insanely fast. And then I gave it one quick sharpening session similar to this. I may have used the diamonds, I don't know. I didn't dick up the edge too much. Cajun Blaze, what's up, homie? Nice, man, that's awesome. The man, the myth, the legend. Oh, right, I was talking about the neon. Basically, yeah, that was kind of a disappointment. But I have been kind of putting this knife in through its paces. Whatever, cardboard, what else? No, I did use it to cut a part of an SIS panel the other day. That is a structural insulation system, kind of like a replacement sheathing for a house OSB. I'm a carpenter, so. But yeah, so no, it's been holding up just fine since whatever issue it was with the factory edge there. This knife, I haven't used a whole lot, so that's kind of my experience in a very large nutshell with Elmax. But I do have faith in it. I feel like it seems like the specs show that it's all there and it's all good. And I don't plan on these two knives going anywhere, honestly, as far as just what I want in a knife right now. Kind of my thinking behind that is like, I really, really do dig the shit out of this knife as far as like oh, thanks, man. Blaze says he likes the live videos. I appreciate that, man. I'm glad that's one of the 16 people that watch him likes him. When I think about this knife, first thing right off the bat is I'm like, it is unnecessarily large, but that's not really the case because it's basically the same size as a military. But you can see the neon is much more like of an EDC knife. However, though, as far as like legality is concerned, or whatever might cross somebody's mind when they think about a knife this size, I think as long as you keep your nose clean and you aren't a jackass, and you're respectful to people and just you act like a fucking decent human being, you're probably not gonna have any trouble carrying a knife like this. And my main other EDC really would be my Chris Reeve and Cosi, large and Cosi, and that knife is over 3.5 too, which makes it debatable, at least, because like they say, basically, at least in Colorado, they use the word like concealed, but they don't necessarily define concealed. So, I mean, I don't know. Is that concealed? I would say any human being, modern day human being, would look at this thing and go, oh, that dude has a knife. And probably not go like, oh, he has a knife. But yeah, go, excuse me, sir, can you open this for me? Why do you have that? No, I'm just kidding. I actually never get shit like that. But again, it's just natural for me to be respectful and to people, you know, or assume that they're worthy of respect until proven otherwise. So yeah, basically, long story short, yeah, Blaze says Louisiana's knife laws are good. Texas is, you know, phenomenal too, which is where I spent the majority of my time in life. It's 5.5 inches, and it doesn't matter where you carry it or what you do, as long as you don't threaten anybody, that should be what the law is, you know, something like that. Right, yeah. James says, yeah, unless you're currently being arrested, nobody really cares, which I think that seems pretty accurate to me. I was arrested, and at the time I had a fucking Strider PT CC, the little concealed carry Strider PT, and the fucking cop that arrested not okay. So most police are good. I have friends that are police or whatever. This one got fired recently, or not recently, but shortly after. This actually was over 10 years ago, but was it exactly 10 years ago? It was like 12 years ago. Anyway, she fucking took that goddamn knife home, and it took me like a week to get it back. Yeah, like that's fucking ridiculous. Anywho, yeah, I guess that's basically all I have. I was just gonna, honestly, I kind of expected to run into at least some kind of interesting issues. I don't sharpen the shit out of my knives. I don't fucking whittle hairs with them. You know, I use them and I try to touch them up regularly, just so they're more useful. Plus, I feel like I'm less likely to cause damage to the blade that will deform it in a way that I'm gonna have to like take a whole shit ton of material away to make it right. I feel like maintaining the edge keeps it fresher, keeps you from like pushing too hard and slipping and dinging it or whatever. And again, this is coming from somebody who does not enjoy sharpening. It's not like I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get home and touch this baby up, you know, like fuck no, like that's not how I roll at all. I'm always like, son of a bitch, I'm gonna have to fucking, you know, but whatever. I do enjoy using my knives. I definitely don't shy away from it. But at the same time, in my tool bags, I tried to keep a Mora knife, like companion, in my tool bags, but I just couldn't deal with it. So I keep a Endura, Spyderco Endura. So even though this might be in my pocket, it's only if I'm like, I want to cut this with this knife, you know, then I'll use it. But I almost put it in my pocket. I'm supposed to be talking about this knife. Well, the lighting fucking blows, but maybe I'll do a couple, or I'll just talk just real quick since I have these two out and Shirogorov's in the title. Quick comparison. Man, I would love it. I probably said this in my neon video, but I would just love it if the neon had thicker handles. Even if they were as thick as the F95NL. Shit, I wouldn't even mind if the F95NL had thicker handles, honestly. But I have extra large hands, you can see. That's the knife in my hand. Yeah, I guess that's basically it, guys. Ki. Palabra a tu madre. Questions, comments, concerns? Leave that below, boys and girls.